Hello, in today's video I'm going to be talking about how long a date should be, but first I have a story. Once upon a time, a man and a woman met online. However, there was a big problem. The man was trying to beat the Guinness World's record for the shortest date in the world, while the woman was trying to beat the Guinness World Record for the world's longest date. They decided to meet at a lobster restaurant. So when the man got there, he literally peeked his head through the door real quick, waved hello, tried to flee, but right as he's fleeing, the woman latched onto his arm because she's trying to beat the world's record for the world's longest date. She yanks him back into the lobster restaurant with her literal lobster claw. And the man wants out, but the woman wants him to stay because they have different goals and obviously they have different expectations for the length of this date. And because of their different dating expectations and their different expectations of the length of their date, the date was not short and the date was not long. No, instead, it was the most average date length in the world. So how are you going to know, unlike this man and this woman, what the best dating length is going to be? How are you going to be on the same page as your partner? Well, that's exactly what this dating video is about in today's episode of Love Stories with Grady. Hola, I'm a 22-year-old boy who has never dated a girl longer than 22 hours. In today's episode, I'm going to be talking about how many hours you definitely want to be on a date with a girl. I'm not talking about how long you want to date that girl from start to finish, like to be in a relationship together. I'm talking just about one date. This episode was inspired by this amazing book written in 1957, Facts of Life and Love for Teenagers, and it's amazing because it's giving me inspiration for each of these videos. So here's some hard and fast rules about dating length. First of all, when you start making them yawn, abort, and then abort some more, okay? Another quick tip, there is no sweet spot for dating length. There is no set time that is the perfect right amount of time. I'm sorry if that's not necessarily what you wanted to hear coming in here. You might have wanted me to say the best dating length is 3 hours and 12 minutes and 2 seconds, but I cannot guarantee or deny that that is the best amount of time to go on a date. There are actually two lines of thinking on this topic, and both of these came to mind when I was preparing this video. And so I'm curious if your line of thinking number one or if your line of thinking number two. And I can see both sides of this, and so I'm just gonna lay this out here. So I'm kind of more the first line of thinking, and this is what I kind of tend to do in the back of my mind without even fully realizing it in the conscious. It's the leave them wanting more way of thinking. And basically this line of thought is that you should end the date before the other person wants the date to end. So you leave them wanting more. I don't really like sharing this on YouTube because if any girl that I date down the road is watching this video, then they're going to know that this mentality is somewhat in me. Also, this is also why I don't like talking about love at all on YouTube. I'm usually a very private person, but like I said, my goal is to eventually meet my future wife in the ketchup aisle, and so when I do that, she'll have no idea that I make YouTube videos, and so I think I'll be in the clear that she won't have seen this before I date her, before I take her on some dates. But anyway, back to topic. There's no guarantee that leave them wanting more actually works. This first line of thinking is what I call the playing games line of thinking. It's the psych out. It's the I'm teasing you with this fun little moment and we're having a lot of fun here and I'm really making you excited here, but before you fully chomp down this thing I'm teasing you with or fully enjoy this thing I'm teasing you with, I'm just going to make your hunger grow again by distancing myself, by taking this away, by making you really struggle and want for more and psychologically impacting your mind and hoping that it works out for the best. And honestly, when I was preparing this video, and preparing to talk about, leave them wanting more, I'm like, do I really want to live by this first line of thinking? Sure, it might actually work more in the strategic world, but I'm reminded by this 11th Man video that's actually going viral from a movie that came out a while ago. And I'll link this clip below. But what happens in this clip, it's literally like a 2-minute clip. I've never seen this full movie. but it's Sean Astin, the guy who plays Sam in Lord of the Rings and the guy who plays Raphael in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. What he talks about is the 11th man theory, where there's 10 guys in a room and they're talking to this lady and they're talking to her about how much they love her and different things like that, and they're genuinely appreciating this girl. And sure, they might be going overboard, but that's not the point of what Sean Astin is saying. So anyway, there's 10 men doing this to the woman, and an 11th man walks in. He strolls in, he just looks at the girl, he goes, "Hey, how are you doing?" And then he turns and starts talking to the guys, right? It's at that instant that the girl tends to want the guy, that guy, the 11th man. And there's two theories on why that girl might want that guy who doesn't necessarily give her attention. A, there's the theory of the girl might just want him because he's not desperate for her, right? And there's another theory that she just doesn't want a nice guy. And so Sean Astin starts talking about the aspect of girls say they tend to want nice guys, but do they really want nice guys? Most girls, they say they don't want games played with them, but then when a guy is just loyal and upfront and actually truthful about how he views the person, well, then the girl tends to not want him. So there's the psychology going on in the woman, and a man trying to figure out exactly what the girl wants is playing games and playing with that girl's emotions in order to figure out, all right, what can I do to keep her? Do I not tell her that I love her because it might come off as desperate? Do I not show her my appreciation because I don't want to be seen as clingy? Do I want to be standoffish and just rude forever to draw her in? Because it might work at first, but how long is that going to play out in order to have a long-lasting relationship? Is the guy just going to have this disrespect for her throughout the whole rest of their life if they end up together in order to keep her interest and to keep playing games with her, and so on and so forth? So it's a good way to do it in the short run, but playing games never really wins in the long run, because you aren't getting someone who genuinely is open to the way you actually feel and the way you want to express how you feel, because they're so used to the games you're playing, and that's what they're falling in love with, is the games you're playing. So anyway, that's why I don't really like games. But the point of the Sean Astin clip is he's saying, you might win more girls that way, but he says that's not necessarily what I want in a girl. I don't necessarily want to play games, and I don't want to seek that out in a girl. I want a girl who's just going to be able to appreciate when I appreciate her. I want a girl who is going to be able to love when I say that I love her. And it's interesting because I think that's a more healthy mentality. It might not be the more popular mentality, but why play games is my question. That's not necessarily the point of this video, but a version of playing games like that I did through high school is whenever a girl would take long to reply to me, I would just not reply to them for a long time. They take an hour to respond, and I take an hour to respond, and then they take an hour to respond, and I take an hour to respond. But then at the end of high school, I started talking to someone, and they became a very good friend. But what they did was something that was mind-blowing to me. They literally responded to me right away, and sometime I would take an hour to not reply because that was the thing to do, and you're supposed to play games, and you're not supposed to be too eager or clingy, and you're not supposed to be too desperate. And so I would take an hour and just not reply, and then they would literally just reply right away. Why? Because they were able to reply, they're ready to reply, they're by their phone, right? So why play the game and act like they're not by their phone when they're just able to reply? And so I started to see that when she replied, she was able to reply, and when she didn't reply, she wasn't able to reply. Instead of this game that was being played, of mutual game of going back and forth and not actually sending each other messages and waiting for a clock timetable that wasn't actually happening. And I realized from this one person that it was so stupid how through high school I played the game of just waiting it out. And gosh, this is why I hate playing games. It's because some people receiving text from that girl might have said, oh, she's clingy, oh, she's desperate, oh, she's this or that. But no, I was able to genuinely appreciate it. Actually, this girl just is being herself and replying like a normal person would do, as if we were both on the phone and talking and replying to each other immediately after the other person finished. Kind of makes sense if she's able and I'm able, that we just keep on texting right there live, So I've kind of stopped doing that. Whenever I'm able to reply, I just reply right away when it comes in. Disclaimer, if you ever message me and I don't reply to you, it's not because I'm playing games with you. It's literally just because I'm probably not on my phone, or I'm just bad at communication sometimes. So don't read into it if I don't reply to you. I'm not trying to play games with you. I would have been in high school, but not anymore. So anyway, that's a long-winded way in order to set up this second way of thinking. When trying to figure out how long the date should be, I would probably recommend, even though this isn't necessarily the most popular opinion, be yourself and just let it go how long it goes. Have the date go for however long it makes sense, whether that's 30 minutes and it's not really working out, or whether that's, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. I've spent time with people where I planned on it being like an hour, 2 hours, and it was a lot longer than that. If they don't like a long date, well then bye, sayonara. Don't spend the time thinking every second, are they liking this? Are they liking this? Are they liking this? In the back of your brain, you're probably gonna know. If you wanna hang out for 80 minutes and you think it's going well for 80 minutes and the other person only thinks it's going well for 60 minutes and they're mad at you for that, well then let them leave. If that really pushes them away, there's better people probably than that one person. Say bye-bye to them. As I mentioned before, the not playing games route is almost risky because it's the least popular way to do things. When you're not playing games with other people, some people might actually look down on you for that. Like, ugh, he replied in 2 minutes after I sent him a message. Ugh, that is the most clingy thing in the world. Like literally, if they're allergic to good communication, sayonara, say goodbye, kick them to the curb. It's all right. You might find less matches, and I'm not even talking about dating online. I'm just talking about, matching with someone in general. Matching isn't necessarily a dating online term. I've never used dating online. So you might match less with people, but you're going to find more of the right people if you're not playing games and you're being yourself, because you attract people to who you are. You attract similar people to you when you show them who you are. So if you're presenting yourself as a fake self, people who are drawn to that version of yourself that you're showing are likely not going to be the people that would actually match with the person that you actually are underneath the fakeness. Someone else who isn't playing games will likely be drawn to you when you're not playing games either. And that's what I'm starting to believe. So you have the opportunity to choose between these two different ways of thinking. Do you want to A, play games in a relationship, at least in the beginning, or do you want to not play games? Honestly, there's benefits to both. I don't think playing games is necessarily wrong. It's just not even guaranteed that when you play games and when you do things along those lines, you're not even guaranteed to end up with that person anyway. I'd love to hear in the comments which one you tend to be more like, and if you're of the playing games category, that's totally fine, like I said, but I'd love to hear more about why you think it's beneficial in order to play games, and if play games is offensive, what other way would you phrase playing games? All right, everyone, whether you're in line 1 of thinking or line 2 of thinking, subscribe for more videos to understand what it's like through the dating process, to give more strategies and thought processes and opinions. This channel is really just about opinions, and I hope to see you next time.